Guys, welcome back to our Ultimate FastAPI series, and the topic for today's video is how to handle errors in FastAPI. So let's jump right into it. I'll just create a dummy app, FastAPI, and I'll also import HTTP exception. This is the class that helps us raise any error. Now I'll just create one app. Okay, I'll create few items. Foo, this is foo, woo, this is woo. Now what I'll do is I'll just create one route which is going to take an item ID. So item ID and get item. Yeah, an item ID is going to be a string. Now if item ID not in items, I'll just raise an HTTP exception which is going to take our status code which is going to be 404 not found, and my detail would be item not found. Simple, right? Otherwise, I'll just return items and that item ID. Yeah, so I'll just run it. Ubicon app reload. I'll just go to our local host. We'll go to the Swagger UI. Okay, I'll just tap in foo. So this key is available. This is foo, right? Now this, you've got the exception with the 404. Now there's more stuff that you can add to it. Like what we can do is I can create my own exceptions. I'll create one file exceptions.py. Suppose I'll import HTTP exception. What I'll do is I'll just create a class not found exception, which will inherit HTTP exception. I'll just init like that. So I'll just remove these details which I don't need as such. There's no need to define the return type, and detail I'll take as string and I'll set the default as not found. This is it. So this is calling the constructor of our HTTP exception and it will itself raise. And the main part is we'll ourselves define the status code, which will be 404 in case of not found. And instead of here, what I can do is I'll just replicate it. Items 2, get item 2. From exceptions, I'll import my not found exception. I'll just do not found exception. Status code isn't required there. Detail is required, like that. And I'll just reload it for the new route. This is foo, works fine. Now foof, see, item not found. I need not give the status code because I've already set it here. Now there's more stuff, like suppose you want this to be not as detailed, you want to add some extra fields as well. So what I can do is I can create some more exceptions, and like suppose I'll create one exception here. I'll import from starlet dot responses. I'll import JSON response first of all. Right. After that, what I'll do is suppose my exception, and this is going to be our, let's say, HTTP exception as that's it. Yeah. So what I'll do is in this case, or not HTTP exception, we'll just take it as exception. Yeah. And what I'll do is I'll just initialize it and I'll take some maybe item ID, right, which is going to be string. Now what I can do is I can just set it self dot item ID is item ID, right? Now this is particularly for one of my routes for a particular case. This can work anywhere throughout my app. Now this is for a particular case. So now this has no relation with our HTTP exception. So I need to add it to our app. So how I'll do it? So there's something known as exception handler. So I'll add this exception handler. I'll first import it. my exception, exceptional handler, my exception. And then what we'll do is we'll create our function, my exception handler, right? Which is going to take a request. We can import from here. And now request is taken. Now it is going to take my class, my exception object, right? And now what we'll do is we'll return the JSON response. So JSON response, this wasn't needed here. I'll just take it out and I'll just put it here. If I'm not wrong, I can even get it from FastAPI.responses. Yeah, that will work fine. Yeah, so what I can do is I can just return JSON response, and which will take my status code, which will be 404, or instead of 404, what you can do is status, and I can just give in status dot, and I can search 404. Yeah, that's it. And then after that, I can just give some content, and content is my detail, right? So my detail, which you will have, it will be a f string. So item with item ID is not found, but this is coming from our class of my exception. From this object it is coming. Yeah. So now let's just try this out. And what we'll do is we'll just raise, I'll create one more route and I'll just give it 3, and here I'll just raise my exception. And let's reload our Swagger. Yeah, we've got it. First is foo, works fine. Now just foo. Oh, internal server error. Let me just check what the issue is. Okay, detail. Detail is not required. Actually, our my exception takes in the item ID. As you can see, it takes in the my item ID. Yeah. So we can just give an item ID equal to item ID. Yeah, now it will work fine. Yeah, my detail. So this way we can create our own exception request response body as well. So these are few or three ways that I showed you how you can deal with the exceptional handling in FastAPI. Thanks a lot for watching. If you have any issues, just let me know.